Hi, my name is Casey Harrell. I live in Orlando, Florida. I currently work as a systems engineer for Lockheed Martin. I've been with them for about 6 years now. This is my first semester both as a distance learning student as well as at Florida State University, and I'm very excited about that. Before that, I attended the University of Central Florida as well as Valencia College here in Orlando, where I received my pre-engineering AA degree as well as an AS in computer programming and analysis. So now that you know a little bit about me, let's move on to the fun stuff. Python, an overview. There are many programming languages out there today, and which one to use varies greatly with the user's needs, preference, and comfort level. One versatile tool that is becoming widely known and used, especially in the information assurance arena, is the Python scripting language. This presentation is not to persuade anyone to use this language, but rather to inform them of what the language is. This will be accomplished by first exploring its origins, then looking at the advantages and disadvantages a user may run into. This will be followed by a rundown of where the language is today and some thoughts of where it might be tomorrow. Finally, the syntax and structure will be explored through some simple code examples. So, origins. What is Python and where did it come from? First question to ask is Python a high-level programming language or a high-level scripting language? It's usually referred to as a high-level scripting language, but the reality is it's a hybrid. It shares characteristics of both the scripting language and a high-level programming language, similar to C and C++. Python was developed by a man named Guido van Rossum while he was working at the Centrum voor Wiskunde en Informatica, CWI, which translates to the National Research Institute for Mathematics and Computer Science, located in Amsterdam. Where did it come from? Python was born from the ashes of CWI's failed venture to replace BASIC with a programming language called ABC in the 1980s. ABC was supposed to be a programming language for non-programmers in highly intellectual fields such as scientists and physicists to alleviate some of the limitations, restrictions, and rules of traditional programming languages. Rosen's theory to its lack of success was the absence of an efficient distribution medium such as the Internet. After the lackluster performance of ABC, Rosen transitioned to the Amoeba project, which was a distributed operating system. This is where he realized the need and was given the freedom to develop a new scripting language. Remembering what he had learned with ABC, he began developing Python with ABC's better features without the problems. One of the big problems he eliminated was the lack of expandability, especially with the I/O capabilities. ABC could handle standard input from the keyboard and write standard output to the screen, but had no provisions to handle I/O from or to files. This correlated to the time when personal computers were hitting the market, and the market Python was geared towards needed the I/O ability to manipulate the new file formats that were being introduced, such as word processor and spreadsheet files. Now let's look at the advantages and disadvantages. There are many advantages to Python, the biggest being that it was designed to be simple to learn and easy to use. This is best shown in the lack of syntax, which will be demonstrated later through examples, and is one of the factors that have landed Python at number 8 on the TIO Popularity Index. Another advantage is that the language is free and open source, meaning that there are no expensive licenses needed to develop in the language or to use the development tools. Python is also very portable and can be run on any machine and independent of whether it is running Windows, Mac OS, Linux, or Unix. This allows for greater cross-platform development. Another interesting advantage is that Python is both extensible and embeddable, meaning it can use and be used within C and C++ code. Being embeddable is where Python takes on the characteristics of a scripting language. Now let's look at the disadvantages. One of the biggest disadvantages to Python is that it is slower compared to C and C++ due to the fact that it is an interpreted language, meaning that the program decisions and semantic error checking are performed at runtime instead of compiling. Another downside is that it uses modules that must be imported into the project because they are often not part of a standard distribution. And also due to the evolving nature of the language, it is often difficult to find complete and up-to-date documentation. Another key drawback is that it tends to bog down when doing memory-intensive tasks such as 3D graphics and things of that nature. Moving on to where the language is today and where it may be going in the future. So, where is Python now? Python 2.x series has been the standard since late in the year 2000, and this is where they made a name for themselves in the industry. Release 2.7.3 is planned to be the final major release of the 2.x series. The improvements that were made in this final release will aid in the transition to the new 3.x series. These include an ordered dictionary type, a faster I/O module, set literals, and new syntax for nested with statements. Where Python is headed. The Python Software Foundation, who has taken over the language, made a bold move in 2008 when they released Python 3.0, also known as Python 3000 or Py3k. This was bold because it is not backwards compatible with any of the 2.x iterations. That being said, they are still confident that users will overcome the changes and continue to make Python one of the most popular scripting languages on the market. Alright, the following are a few simple Python examples in version 2.7.3 to give an idea of what the syntax and structures are like. One big selling point for a lot of users is the lack of curly braces to denote group statements. Python instead uses a tab structure, as will be shown. The first program anyone learns is the Hello World program. It generally helps to get a basic feel for how the language works, what special statements need to be included, and things of that nature. In Python, however, there isn't the same feel because the Hello World program is simply a one line. Okay, so the first example we're going to look at is a simple Hello World program. You can see here that I've shown how the different comments look. You can do a single line comment by simply using a £sign and writing what you need to. You can also do multi-line comments by delimiting it with 3 double quotes at the beginning and at the end. So here's the simple program. It has 2 different ways of calling the print feature of the Python language. The first one is simply printing the literal string hello world straight to the output. This call will be deprecated in the 3.x series. They're moving more towards the function call, as you see here, where you actually call the print function and pass the string literal hello world into it. So as you would expect, when you run this, you'll need to run with the syntax of calling Python and then the name of the script. So Python hello world.py. And as expected, it prints hello world twice using both of the functions. The next program we'll look at will provide a demonstration of how Python uses indentation instead of curly braces when defining a function. So this is a very basic Python function. One key thing to note is that when defining a function, you have to use the def keyword, and this enables us to here create a function called greet that accepts an argument called name. And then through here with the indentation, you can see that it's going to print the string literal hello, the variable, what's contained in the variable name, then it'll print goodbye and the content of the variable name again, and then exit the function. So after that, we will call the function 3 times using the strings Jack, Jill, and Bob. And as you would expect, we get hello Jack, goodbye Jack, hello Jill, goodbye Jill, hello Bob, goodbye Bob. And we're using the same syntax for calling the function, or calling the program as we did before, Python, the name of the script, and .py. So what I'd like to look at finally is another example of this greet program, but with one of the lines not indented. So the first thing that should jump out at you is that the line that is not indented, the print keyword is no longer the same color. This means that it's no longer included in this greet function. So as would be expected, it's going to cause an error and it's not going to run at all. So as you'll see on the next slide, it throws an error because name has not been defined outside of the function. You're calling the variable name, but nothing has been passed to it outside of the function, so it's not happy with that. So I hope this has given you a good overview of what the Python programming language is, and I hope it's alleviated some of the stigma that Python is strictly a scripting language and it can actually be used for object-oriented purposes. Thank you.